Hello, everyone. We are live. My name is Melanie Richmond, and I am your executive well-being coach. I'm so happy to be here today. We have Melina with Welcome Forest Therapy, which is going to be a fantastic topic if you've never heard of forest therapy before. So here at True North Wellbeing Coaching, we're all about aligning ourselves with nature and what our heart desires are. So I think it's going to be a really good topic that aligns with our company, where we help driven professionals get to that next level in their career and life by optimizing their well-being. So welcome to the show, Melina.
Thank you so much. It's great to be
Yeah. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got into forest therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Milena. My pronouns are she and her. And I've been a certified forest therapy guide operating my business for about 3 years now. And I got into forest therapy actually in a really sort of organic way. In 2018, I was going through a severe bout of depression, and I had to take some time away from my very sort of demanding job. And I just found myself retreating into the woods, and I didn't really understand why, but it always gave me this sense of profound calm to do that. And me and my dog would just wander in the forest, and so I started looking into it, and I stumbled upon this concept of forest therapy, or forest bathing as it's also known, and the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy, which is the body through which I got my certification. And so that very same day, I remember I was house sitting for my brother, and I texted him and I said, I'm going to become a forest therapy guide, and I'm going to name my business Wild Calm. And he was like, what are you talking about? What is that? And so, yeah, it's been interesting. I did my training in 2019, and that's the same year that I founded my business.
That's amazing. And going back to like that moment where you're going through a harder time in your life, and we all have those areas where we fall into a slump. Um, and I think so many people can say that nature, like being in nature, has just been so therapeutic for them. And sometimes you can't describe what it is, but it's like in some way, nature is just there connecting with you without you really noticing it until maybe you do some of the training that you've done
Yeah.
and supporting you. There's just something so magical and beautiful out there. So tell me a little bit more about like what like if somebody's never heard of forest therapy and they're curious about how it works, how it benefits them maybe, like what's usually involved and what would they maybe experience?
Yeah, definitely. So, forest therapy is a practice of being in relationship with the land. In the way that I've been trained to guide it, it's based on the Japanese practice of Shinrin Yoku. So, that translates to forest bathing, or bathing in the atmosphere of the forest. And that came about in Japan in the 1980s. There was a lot of high stress workplaces and stress related ailments among their population. And so the government made a really concerted effort to take folks into these mindful, slow paced experiences in the woods. And they were able to collect some data along the way. So they were able to show that forest therapy reduces stress hormones, so salivary cortisol found in your mouth. It reduces your blood pressure. And because this was back in the 80s, there have been a lot of subsequent studies.
So I just
There are,
want to hold you right there. So you just mentioned that in Japan in the mid 80s, there was such high levels of stress in the workforce that the government enforced this upon, was it the whole population or was it like a certain demographic within the government?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, and that's something I'm going to look into, because it's a good question. But I know that they took a segment of their workforce and put them through these Shinrin Yoku sessions, where
Wow.
they were just instructed to walk, slowly, to immerse their senses in their surroundings, and yeah, the data was really conclusive that it does make you feel better. It lowers your stress levels, and it helps you to relax. And subsequent studies have shown it also has benefits to the immune system and your cardiovascular system. And it's been proven to be an effective treatment in a suite of treatments for things like depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. So when you say like you go out into nature, like really being mindful in a slower pace, is there anything that you want to be receptive of while you're in nature, or be more aware of in order to connect with the forest or
I think
forestry?
that's a good question, and I think that's kind of where the guide comes in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Forest therapy is definitely something that you can do with a bit of instruction or just kind of on your own. But the feedback that I've had from folks is that this isn't something that I would just naturally do. I wouldn't go this slowly if you weren't leading the way.
Right.
I wouldn't, spend 3 hours in the forest wandering around, feeling textures if I wasn't invited to do so by somebody. So, what a session looks like typically in the warmer seasons, my sessions are 3 hours long, and in the winter, they're around 2 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
um, we start out with an introduction to what forest therapy is for anybody who's not familiar. And we do a series of invitations. We call them invitations because there's no right or wrong way to participate. So you're not going to be doing forest therapy any better than the person beside you or any worse. If you're there, you're doing it right. And these invitations are designed to really immerse your senses in your surroundings and get you out of your head and back into your body. And so I'll start with sort of a guided meditation, a very slow paced walk where we just notice things that we might not notice if we were going at a normal pace. And then a series of invitations that I will craft depending on, the weather situation or the site that we're at, the group dynamic. There's a lot that goes into the invitations that are presented in any given walk, and they're always a little bit different.
Mm.
And then we close the session with a tea ceremony. So I'll make a forest forage tea with a plant that I'll give some information on why we're using that plant that day, and kind of what it does for us medicinally or traditionally, that kind of thing. And we close with snacks and tea. And yeah, that's kind of an overview of what a session would look like if someone's never heard of it before.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing. It sounds like such a wonderful 3 hours. And and I think you're right. Like anybody could try and do it on their own, but there's something about having a guide and a group dynamic, or potentially doing it a solo trip with yourself, that you get to look at it from a different perspective. And I know this is like totally different, but I remember going to Costa Rica with my husband probably like in 2017. We went to this park, Manuel Antonio, and we hired a private guide to
Mm-hmm.
look for animals in the forest. And we were looking for sloths. And if it wasn't for this guide, I would have never seen the sloths because they have an eye for something that you've not experienced yet. And you need somebody to show you where to look or how to look in order to see it or experience it. So I feel like that kind of goes similarly with what you're saying, and with the invitations and trying those different things.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of another point. Like forest therapy is a practice, sort
Mhm.
of, like doing yoga. Doing it once is great; you get some benefit from that. But doing it as a practice that you incorporate into your life on a regular basis can really improve your mental and your physical health.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like I have a toddler at home, and he's actually sick right now, but he's getting better. But when we go for walks, like I'm walking way slower than I normally would.
Yeah.
He's stopping at every corner, picking up little branches or leaves or pointing at the bugs. And he makes me like he's in some way, he's almost like a little guide for me saying, hey, like slow down and let's look at these really cool things that I haven't even looked at for ages, since I was a kid, probably. So there's something very powerful about going back to the basics, like to the foundation, to the primal that is so good, because we get caught in life and all the distractions and the stresses, which leads to depression, anxiety, everything that you mentioned. And there's so many benefits here. So it's so amazing how something so simple can be so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have had people, mention things like that they haven't done um, this or this or this since they were a kid, and they really
Yeah.
enjoyed that invitation to be a bit more childlike and a bit more present in the moment, and to sort of
Mm-hmm.
let that scrolling in our mind pause for a bit. And folks will often say at the end, I was apprehensive to sign up because it's 3 hours of my day, but it just flew by. And I can't believe we've been here for 3 hours. So once you get out of your sort of fight or flight mode in your nervous system, the time kind of slips away in what we call liminal space, where you're, almost in a meditative state. And it's a very healing practice. And it sounds like your son would be a great forest therapy guy.
He loves being outside, so maybe one day. Do you offer any sessions that would be for like parents and kids, or is it just for adults? Like, who do you offer these sessions to?
Yeah, my primary audience is adults. I have taken some youth, and in sort of my previous parts of my previous career, I guided a lot of children through environmental education. And so I'm pretty comfortable around kids, but I do think like you'd have to modify the session
Oh, a
quite
lot. Yeah.
to have kids under 15. So I take youth, as long as the parent gives them permission to go. I can take youth. And then occasionally I do try to offer sessions for parents with babies and carriers. They can still get, the same sort of experience, as long as they're not just sort of chasing a toddler around. So for
Mhm.
younger babies, it's pretty conducive. But exploring the opportunity to guide groups with more diverse ages is something that I'm interested in. And I have guided um, a couple times with babies, and I think my oldest participant was 85. So
Oh, wow.
it's a practice. Actually, it's something that I should mention, it because it's so slow paced, and I do guide at a variety of locations with different sort of terrain. It is a practice that's available really widely to a lot of different sort of mobility challenges can be accommodated. It's available to anyone of any physical level of fitness. So it is a very accessible and inclusive practice.
Hmm. Well, that's amazing. So there's so many benefits, and most of my audience, they're corporate professionals, they're running busy lives, high stress, high corporate jobs. So I could see it being very beneficial for corporations, or for groups to get out together as a really good team building activity, but also an opportunity to connect deeper with nature, with themselves, and with others. So do you offer that for corporations as well?
Yeah, so on my website, I have my sort of posted public sessions, but I also do take quite a few private bookings for either groups or individuals, groups of all sizes. I typically try to cap my group around 20 or 25, depending on the site. More than that, it's a little bit crowded. But I have taken groups of around 25 in the past for private events. And it is a really great team building experience. People have expressed that they felt like more connected to people that they've known for a long time, but just have never gone through an experience together, sort of thing. Or at the end of each invitation, I should also mention we do a sharing circle. So it is like a safe space. It's not something that I'll ever post on my social media or on my website, testimonial gallery, or anything like that. But it is a space for people to express anything that they kind of feel they need to in the moment. And so some people will express some pretty profound um, sentiments, memories that are coming back, working through grief. I've had several people that have said that it was really helpful in going through a grieving process. And yeah, it can be a very bonding experience for sure.
Yeah, well, that sounds really great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And for our viewers that want to find out more information from yourself, what's the best way to connect with you or look at your website? What's the URL?
Yeah, my website is wildcalm.ca, so it's pretty
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and my email is Milena, Milena, at wildcalm.ca. That's probably the fastest way to reach me, but you can also send me an inquiry through the website contact page.
Amazing. And with this amazing fall that we're having, now's the opportunity to get on a walk with you, right?
Yeah, actually this Saturday, I don't know when you're going to post this video, but on October 1st, we are going to be doing, I'm doing a collaboration with MT Consulting Group. And it's an event called All Bodies Belong in Nature, really showcasing the inclusivity of forest therapy as a practice. So we're going to be doing that October 1st. And then coming up in October and November, I'm actually offering a special package series called Explore the River Valley. And that is going to be 3 sessions to celebrate 3 years of Wild Calm. And it's at 3 different locations. The final walk in that series is a full moon walk. So you get to go out at sunset and stay out after dark, which is always a lot of fun. And that one also comes with a gift from Wild Calm, and I'm partnering with Mother Earth Essentials to provide a really beautiful gift to all the participants of that event. So yeah.
That sounds like an amazing treat. So if anybody's in need of, a little bit of self-care, self-time, me time, that sounds like a great opportunity, a great gift to give yourself. And for those watching that are not in Edmonton, we are in Edmonton, Alberta. Maybe if you have the opportunity, you could drive up. But otherwise, I know that there's other guides throughout Canada and around the world that you can also look into. Well, I'm so thankful for you to come on the show today. And any last words for viewers before we close it off?
Yeah, if you are located outside of Edmonton or the region, I would encourage you to look for a forest therapy guide in your region. But if you don't have one, or you wanted to try out forest therapy with me, I do virtual programming as well.
Great.
So I post those periodically on my events page, which is the booking page of my website. And those ones you connect through Zoom. They're a little bit shorter. They're just an hour and a half, keeping in mind battery life. But I have had participants from as far as Norway, the UK, Brazil, and all parts of Canada and the US. So it's open to everyone. And it's really fun to see people in their own forest at different times of day and in different climates.
That would be really interesting. Awesome. Okay, well, thanks so much. And I just have a couple show notes here for our audience. We kicked off our 2-month Alignment Leaders program at the start of September, and it's been going great. We've been talking about alignment as the foundation of everything that we do, how our body's an instrument. So if we're playing our instrument as hard as we can and we practice as much as we want, if we're out of tune, it's still going to sound bad. So with this Alignment Leaders group, we've been looking at that, setting boundaries so we can create space for self-care that we need, coming up with mindfulness strategies that work for us because we don't need to do it all. And we're also going to be having a free event that's going to be open to only a few participants. We're going to have a private yoga session on October 11th. So if you're interested in joining, send me a message because I only have a few spots left. And it's going to be a great opportunity to connect with the community, and it's free and it's going to be amazing. So thank you for watching today. Thank you, Milena, for coming on. And I wish you all a fantastic week. Take care.
Thanks so much, Mel.
Yeah, you bet.